right, so let's just take a breath for a moment. So I talked in the video about the financial condition of the church, and we are in good condition, right? So there are reserves and so forth. The reason why you didn't get it was twice as long with all the numbers and stuff as I usually do, but for whatever reason, after 3 tries, Zoom did not record it. So for those of you who like to drill down in the numbers, I will make myself available and show you where all the money goes. More specifically, where all your money goes, right? Because this center is run in a much different way than traditional denominational church, where an offering is taken up and then you just don't hear. You'll hear how it's not big enough, right? That's often the case. Or how much the weekly collection is. Some churches do that. But we actually have a report. You are welcome to come to any board meeting to see what's going on at the board level. So if you thought about being a board member, particularly if you have some experience in running a business, or say you're a manager, where you're used to looking at budgets and so forth, and you've got some Science of Mind classes, actual certified classes under your belt, we'd love to have your input. And even if you don't have any of that stuff and you're just curious, we'd love to have your input, right? So it is our intention and our practice to be transparent around the money stuff. So if you have any questions about that, like I said, my email address will still be the same for a little bit till we transition over. So for this year of 2025, it was still a challenging year for myself personally. I do also want to say thank you again for all of your prayer support, and also the support for the center. It has been my vision for this center that whoever is at the top is a plug-in effort, right? So yes, I appreciate how connected that I am with the center. I've been here since October of 2000. So yes, I'm really connected to the place. I'm really invested in its continuance. And like any good organization, the impact of the leader is felt when they leave, of course, and when they arrive as well. However, they can be replaced, right? And so we're going through that process now. And as Michael and Dr. Maureen were saying, to just simply be patient with the process. And I would also say that, on a daily or at least a few times a week, just consider what it is, like imagine what it would look like. This new minister, not specifically are they a woman or anything like that, but just the energetic that you want to feel and experience, and the energetic of connecting with your friends here in the center, as together everyone gets their shoulder behind the cart to help bring in this vision, because it's going to be a completely new vision. It might look completely different, right? Not only the service, but who knows, which is a great thing, right? It's a great thing because if I'm honest about it, one of the things that you'll see on the stakeholders thing, on the staircase, it'll show you stakeholders, which is basically donors who've participated. And that hasn't spiked greatly, even before my illness. So what that tells me is that there's room there's room to grow, there's room for improvement, and there's room for a new and better way to not only cast a vision, but to put a demand even on the congregation to fulfill that vision, that you will collaborate and have lots of input and so forth, right? But once the visioning is done, then it's time to get to work, right? So I'm very excited for the congregation. So the other thing that I would say is, look for ways to connect in these next few months, or to reconnect. So Myrna is doing this spiritual economics class. There should be 20 people in that class. Okay, knowing not only, because economics is more than just money. It's the consciousness. It's the consciousness of a law of attraction that many of you have taken these kinds of classes, but all of us need to sharpen the saw. All of us need to be reminded of how the creative process works. And in this particular instance, it's not just about attracting a financial gain to ourselves and therefore our center, but for a new spiritual leader. And this is a wonderful place to have a smaller conversation by the lens of spiritual economics and Eric Butterworth. I used to teach this class every year when I first started here in the ministry. I believe in the class that much. And Myrna has shown herself to have a command of the material that she presents. And I think that, I know you'll have a great experience in class because you'll be in it, right? So what do you think about these things? You can't have these kind of conversations with your family and many of your friends. We're just not, socially, we just typically keep it shallow. That's why men talk about sports so much. Hey, that's true. So anyway, we got a lot of things accomplished. It would have been nice if I had a little more punch and a little more energy, but we still got a lot of stuff done. We had to repair the front doors, and we reformatted the marketing stuff on the front of the door, our signage, and the fact that we're now sharing our center with the Unitarian group. So we are better together. And so that's reflected out there on the window now. That under the leadership of Salam Thompson and others in the community, they really put together a fantastic Juneteenth program, which was not the first time we've done that, but certainly it was an excellent. It was kind of an extravaganza. It was really something. I think it was our highest attended event. We also had the opportunity to share our center with youth for a reading program. Now, they're not going to be back. They've decided to do it online. But it's just the energetic of having youth in the center, right? The same thing with the youth orchestra. So, and Ian volunteers with, are they over at Frost, Evan? Yeah, so Frost Junior High, if I think. Middle school. They don't call it junior high anymore. Middle school. So, back in my day. But anyway, and I have to say, if you're free when you're here, it's kind of fun to see Ian at work as an orchestral dude, because he is the dude, to see that flowing Rick Wakeman red hair as he's doing the thing, It's cool. All right, we also, one of the things that we explored and spent a little bit of money on as a board was we secured a $10,000 a month Google ad grant from Google for nonprofits. We were very excited to be able to participate in that and to see what would happen. We spent some money with, we bought a software program called Opus, which is an AI-directed program that takes Sunday messages and snips them up and determines what would be the most juicy, that would attract new viewers and so forth. We designated a chunk of money for that. I think it was, $2,500 or some amount of money. I don't remember what it was now. Ultimately, we found that we did not, the Opus thing is working because we still have the short videos. But the Google Ads thing was kind of a fishing expedition to get you hooked into using some guy who's going to show you how to optimize, right? And for $400 or $500 a month. So it's like, okay, well, fine. So nothing's free at Google. It's only free in the mind of God, apparently. All right. Then in October we had the street fair, which is another one of those times where we get together and it's fun to do. Unfortunately, I was at a family wedding, but it looked like it was great fun. And I have been on, I don't know, 20 of them anyway over the years, and have always enjoyed doing it. And then, of course, our holiday program, which this year did not include the Spiral of Light. And I would love to see someone get excited about taking that on. Rosalie has offered to if someone will take it. She's got all the stuff to do it, right? But it's going to take someone to really, and with all these projects, it can't happen without good leadership. And the thing that I know about you guys is that you are all intuitively strong leaders. I don't see, you don't come to a center like this, you don't come to a teaching like this being a you just don't, because they have churches for right? That we're full of leaders. And so, but you have to want to step into doing it and to commit the time to do it. And I know there's other things that might be fun to do, but I got to tell you, most of the time I think it's people just they don't commit to it because they think something better might show up on that day. And that's how a lot of people do their social calendar. And what I would say is kind of in keeping with what Reverend Cheryl and Stacy were saying, you be that reason why people show up here. You be the reason why people want to participate in any event, any activity here, from Sangha to street fairs to harvest festivals to meditation groups, right? And then to continue to find ways for outreach. So I will continue. So I've been serving on the Granada Hills Business Improvement District. It's 100 years that Granada Hills has been here. It's a centennial year. I'll be doing the invocation for them in April. And I'll continue to serve in that regard. We now are seeing, because our center is right in the center of the district. And we have a nice reputation. They're now meeting here once a month on Wednesdays. And then also every other month we have the Sunshine Canyon landfill. And they actually have a budget. That's for those of you who may live up and get inundated by the wonderful ambrosic odors of Sunshine Canyon landfill. You can show up here on those Thursdays, and you have the city and the county and all of these agencies are available to give updates on what's going on there, right? It's actually very interesting, and if for no other reason, to see how democracy is supposed to work, right? And I got to tell you, it's sloppy and it's chaotic, but the movement is always forward. It's been very inspiring for me, even with the bureaucracy and going, oh my God, I can't believe these guys, but still to see that people are doing their own little bits and trying to bring the best that they are to their various tasks. So it's inspiring that way. So, so that brings me to, the last Sunday in December, of course. I announced my retirement. I would have liked, it wasn't my plan to come back and then punch out. But the truth is that this community deserves someone who really has the energy level to run it properly. So I had enough energy for the status quo. But this community is ready to move beyond the status quo. Yes? I'm sorry?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
That's more like it. Because that's what it's going to take. It's going to be a resounding yes. That's what it's going to take. So daydream. Boy, if I had my way, I would love this center to feel like this. And when I show up here, I would like to see the crowd that would look like this. And I would like to show up and I would like to hear music that sounds like this. And I would love to have an experience of my minister that quickens the heart and inspires me in some way. And maybe even on some Sundays pisses me off because he or she makes me think about things that up until now I may not have considered. And sometimes that you might even call it political. Well, that's okay too, once in a while. Once in a while. But maybe you decide you want a more steady diet of that. I don't know. Wouldn't work for me. Perhaps it'll work for you. My attitude around that is that I figure everybody's got a belly full of that before they get here on Sunday. Right? So we can take an hour or two to know the truth. Stacy and Cheryl are 100% right. To know the truth for an hour or two that God is all there is. That the ultimate power of the universe, the healing power of the universe, is love itself. And that we teach and practice the science of mind and spirit, which is a mental exercise. And so we work on not being delusional about the BS that's being shoved down our throats through social media and whatever other places that we are doom scrolling through, looking for people who think just like we do so we can justify our position on things. No. Right? If nothing else, a center for spiritual living anchored in the principles of religious science is an association of free thinkers who understand that if this thing we call the Spirit, this thing we call the G-O-D, if it is in fact everywhere present simultaneously and all-knowing, there's only one way that can happen, and that's as an energetic. And that energetic expresses itself and is bound to a law. A law of what? The law of the mind of spirit. That's bound by what? Only the law of its own being. Yes. And so we then are called to see the world the way the Spirit sees the world. Paul said to be ye transformed through the renewing of your mind. Now, in his tradition, it was to see the world the way Christ sees it. Christ being the enlightened, not Jesus' last name. So we're kind of an outlier in this way, and I think we take it for granted. The world needs so desperately what it is that we have to offer. It needs a place to come where it's not red and blue or even purple, but it is that field beyond good and bad. And to extend an invitation to others to join us there. But then we have to make sure that our field is a place worth visiting. That we are that field. So what I know is that in my 26 years of being here, that each and every one of you is 100%, 150% capable of being that person. And I feel very blessed and grateful to have shared this path with you. And once the new person is in place and the dust settles and they want me around once in a while, I'll be back. Right? Stephanie and I are still in the area, and it's not appropriate for me to be here because you need to move beyond me. Yes? Yes. Boy, that was you could have done, yeah. That was a little too enthusiastic. So you got Myrna. The other thing, and I really want to give a shout out to the folks who've been coming down from Santa Clarita all this time. They've been a nice little addition to our center, and both Lissa and Milena, who are taking care of the online stuff, because Lissa is not just working on Sundays, but also she's the effort behind our hybrid classes. And as much as that stuff doesn't appeal to me, because I'd much rather be with you, right? It's now an integral part of the way all centers are going to operate, right? So our vision, in fact, it was back when Maureen was still here, was to have a live streaming center. And it took us years to just figure out how to do it. This is before Facebook and, it was back when MySpace was the thing. Yeah, remember that? And yet, when COVID hit, I was surprised. The channel's been up since 2015. Is that what you said? Yeah. So when COVID hit, we didn't miss a beat. So that's consciousness too. That's spiritual economics. So going forward,